Hello everyone, we are learning today how to calculate the volume of pyramids and cones. Today specifically we're going to start with the volume of the cone. Before we started this note paper, we looked at how we can compare the volume of a cylinder to the volume of a cone that has the same height and the same area of the circle, which is our base. And we found that it took 3 cones of rice to fill the cylinder, right? So if you notice the formula that we have here, the formula on top is the same as the cylinder formula for volume. The only extra step that you have to do when you have a cone is to do what? Divide by 3. So that's why, because you have to multiply by 3 the volume of the cone, and that's how many containers of coned rice? No. Cone container. Okay. How many times I dumped the cone into the cylinder was 3 times. So that means the cylinder has 3 times the volume of a cone with the same base and same height. So in order to get the volume of a cone, we simply do the same thing, area of the circle times the height, but then the last step is we have to divide by 3. So we're going to practice using that formula. And the steps that we use, we're going to go right to the cone down here. This example is going to be, we're going to write the formula, we're going to substitute with the numbers that we need, and then we're going to solve using our calculators. So right below this cone, we're going to write V for volume. And then we're going to rewrite the formula, pi r squared times height divided by 3. So that's A. B is we're going to actually substitute the numbers in. So I don't know the volume. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Pi, I'm going to use 3.14. Radius is 3. That's my radius. My height is 10. And I'm going to multiply that times the height. But what did I just forget to write down? The squaring, right? I need to square the radius. So C is we're just going to plug that into, divided by 3. We're going to plug that into our calculators to get our answer. So go ahead and try the problem. Pi times 3 squared times 10 divided by 3. Thank you. So what did we get? Who's got the answer? 94. Volume equals 94.2. And then what are my units? What kind of feet? Feet cubed. Pretty easy, right? Just like the cylinder, but one extra step. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about volume of a pyramid, since that was pretty easy and we still have some time. So now we're going to look at the volume of a pyramid, and we're going to compare it to a rectangular prism. So I also have those shapes here. I have a pyramid, a square pyramid, and I have a rectangular prism, actually a cube. So both of these shapes, the bases are what? They're both squares and they're the same. And both of these shapes have the same what? Height. So you can see from the formula, the 1/3 is there, right? And it has that big B. What do you think that big B represents? The area, the big B, because it's a big B, is the area of the base. So just like a prism, a rectangular prism, or a triangular prism, you find the area of the base and you multiply it by the height to get the volume. So the only difference is because a pyramid has less volume than the cube with the same attributes, What do you think we're going to do after we multiply the area of the base times the height? Divide by 3 or multiply by 1/3? Knowing that 1/3 is there and 1/3 is a repeating decimal, it's probably best, I'm going to show you how to do it by dividing by 3 at the end. Then you're not messing with 1 divided by 3. You're just dividing by 3 at the end. So let's go ahead and try that with our pyramid here. And we're only dealing with, by the way, square pyramids this year. We're only dealing with pyramids that have a base of a square. When you guys get into geometry in high school, you'll have triangular pyramids and hexagonal pyramids and all these crazy little pyramids. But for our purposes, we're only using square pyramids. It makes it pretty easy for us. So we're going to start out with the formula. I'm going to give you big B times H divided by 3. I'm going to do that instead of using 1/3. If you want to use 1/3 and multiply, that's fine. But if you know the multiplying by 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3, and it's so much easier to do it this way. So the only difference is now I have to calculate big B. So I have to recognize what the area of the base is. This is my big B. What kind of shape is the base of this pyramid? It's a square. So what would be the formula for finding the area of this square? Length times width or side squared. Okay? What's my side length? 6. And you see these little dashes? That's how you know it's a square. So my big B is 6 squared. So the area of big B is going to be 36 square feet. Make sense? That's how we get our big B. Once we have big B, so here's our formula, we can plug it into the formula and solve. Volume equals big B, 36, times height, which is what? 10, and then we divide by 3. So volume is 36 times 10 divided by 3. 120. Okay? So it's important that we see how the formulas relate and how we devise them. In case we have practical problems, we need to understand, like if you're only given the base, how do you get the height from the volume and such. But the formula on the SOL formula sheet is going to be 1/3 BH, big B times H, but I would highly recommend just dividing by 3 at the end. All right, we can turn this over. And we're going to look at some of these examples. We're going to look at the 2 examples here, applying our formulas and our steps. So the first shape, this one, what shape is it? Pyramid. And we know that the base is a what? Square, because it's 18 and 18. So I'm going to write my big B there just to remind myself that's what big B is. It's the area of the base. Don't confuse that with little b, which would be like one-dimensional shape. I know, it's funny. Little b and big B. Okay? So the formula for a square pyramid, volume equals big B times H divided by 3. And I'm going to calculate my big B. Big B in this case, it's not always going to be S squared, but because it's a square, I'm just going to square 18. So big B is equal to 18 squared. So big B is equal to what? Thank you. Okay. So now I'm going to plug big B into my formula, multiply it by the height, and then simply divide by 3. So V equals 324 times the height, which is 16, divided by 3. Did you divide by 3 yet? And you got what? 1,728 inches cubed. We need to make sure that we're looking at our units. Okay, so that's 2 examples now of pyramid. Let's go back to cone. So a cone, the formula is pi r squared, right? Height. What other shape has that formula? Pi, a cylinder, right? But remember, this shape is a third of a cylinder. So we just divide by 3. So we're going to plug in our numbers. 3.14 for pi times 9 squared times 15 divided by 3. So if I put that in my calculator, I get 1,000 what? 1,271.7 inches cubed. Okay, so we've learned how to calculate the volume of cones and square pyramids today by devising the formulas. We devised the formulas by looking at the formulas we already knew of a cylinder dividing by 3 gives us a cone's volume, and in this case, a cube divided by 3 gives us the pyramid's volume. I'd like you to continue working on the other problems, writing down the formulas first, plugging in the numbers, and then writing your answers. Do not forget your units. And that's the end of our lesson on volume of pyramids and cones.